Hey there, Jeff Manchester, Manchester Music. Welcome. It's been a little while, but I'm back, and I want to talk about this trend, this phenomenon I've seen of companies putting out all-in-one vocal channel strips designed to give you, I think, a real cheat code toward getting great vocals. And getting great vocals has been, I think, and will continue to be one of the hardest things ever about mixing. So these tools are kind of designed like if you were to go back in like 1990 and buy a stereo system from Best Buy, insofar as you're not just getting a tape decks, the speakers, or the CD player, the tuner, like everything is all in one. It's one clustered, unique kind of proposition, but all designed to get you great vocal sound. So I'm going to be exploring a number of strips. Nectar 4 from iZotope / Native Instruments. We're going to be checking out the SSL Native Vocalstrip 2. We're going to be checking out the Joey Sturgis Howard Benson vocal plugin. I also have the Manley Voxbox from UAD. And finally, I also have the VOCA from Sonnox that I'll be previewing, playing with. I should make a quick announcement here. There's a couple tools that you will not see that are kind of channel strips for vocals. One of them comes from IK Multimedia. I think it's called the Joe Ciccarelli vocal strip or something like that. Now, I spent about 2 hours of my Saturday last week trying my best to get this thing installed. I had to first download a plugin manager, and then I had to download something called the Custom Shop. And then once I had the Custom Shop, I had to find the product that I wanted to trial. And then I was to open it in standalone or in my DAW, the Custom Shop. It did not show up in either the DAW or the standalone. It was a total mess, and for that reason, I just want to work with tools that open quickly and trial really easily, and that's not one of them for now. I'm sure it's a great plugin, but I just had a heck of a time. The second tool that I won't be showing is the CLA Vocalstrip from Waves. Now, the reason is not because the plugin itself isn't good, but if you've ever downloaded a trial of something from Waves, you'll know that they insert a kind of, muting of the sound every like 10-15 seconds. So you're trying to make a video or get a sense of how the plugin operates, and they just keep gating and muting the experience. Now you might say, well, hey Jeff, just buy it. It's probably $29, right? And that's true. It probably is $29. But if you, again, know anything about Waves, the minute I upgrade my Mac OS or whatever, they will lock you out of using that tool, CLA Vocal plugin or whatever, until I pay them money to keep that tool up to date. So it's not really $29. It's $29 plus upgrade fees associated with, making things compatible for Apple Silicon or the latest operating system. So it really is not ideal for just quickly going in, trying stuff out, and making videos about it. So for that reason, it's not really going to play a role here in the video. Before I get into things, though, I should mention I have a Patreon. Please go there and support me. I also have an affiliate link in the description. So if you want to buy something that you maybe see today or anything, I get a kickback from that. We can keep the channel nice and independent. And if you're not subscribed, please do that. So with that table setting out of the way, let's hop into the video. And first, I'll just play you what I'm working with here. It's another track from Brian. Sounds like this. I have no processing on it. I'm going to get rid of the bus. So here is the mix.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
Just the vocal.
Some days I'm so inside my head. All my fears showing right through.
So just move that up a little bit.
Some days I get so, some days.
Cool. All right, so the first tool that I want to try here is actually VOCA from Sonnox. These guys released Claro a little while ago. They've been releasing some plugins that really feel like the company has turned a corner and is trying to make stuff assistive and simple as opposed to some of the other tools they made in the past through EQs and compressors. VOCA is a really interesting channel strip here for vocals. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potentiometers. That's it. And with these potentiometers, we can affect the input level. We can affect compression, saturation, and we can also almost like soothe, de-harsh, and de-ess any strident kind of sour notes that we hear. So the way it works is this. You're supposed to play some stuff. It's going to automatically kind of control the gain of the input to make sure that the compressor isn't working too hard, and you can further optimize that to whatever the program material is going through if you don't really like how auto sounds right out of the gate. So I'm going to play some audio here, and then I'll click optimize.
Some days I get so turned around.
I was going to listen.
I don't know how to love you. Some days I'm so inside.
And you can see that purple
head.
trace above the top
All
of this
my
dial.
fears
When it goes to the left, I believe it's
through.
ducking. It's bringing the audio down a little bit. When it goes to the right of that dial, it's boosting the
Some
signal.
days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
So doing a little bit of work right there, right? Now, if I want to, I can bring up the body of the audio with an output knob. I'm just going to leave it kind of where it is right now until I bring other processing in, which happens to be right here on the right. Compression. I can turn it off or on with the handy little power button over there. So we have squish and stabilize. This is like an XY pad. So I can bring this all the way up here. Stabilize is 100%. Squish is 47%. I could keep stabilize pretty strong, bring squish here in, have it, be best of both, or just dial things in. As far as I know, stabilize is really meant to regulate the loudness and give you a nice smooth compressed sound, and squish is going to do squish. It's really going to push the processing to get a nice kind of squished in front of your face sound.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
So when I bring squish to 100%, we can really hear the rest of the room in Brian's space get loud. That's interesting. So we are really squishing the sound.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you. Some days I'm so inside my head.
So that's compression. Pretty easy, pretty intuitive to move things around. Next we have saturation, focus, and saturate. I believe focus is going to help things cut through the mix a little bit. A bit like an Aphex exciter, just really sharpen things and push them. Saturate is going to probably distort and saturate the sound. Let's play with those.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you. Some days I'm so inside my head.
You can really hear the saturation there, especially in the upper frequencies.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
Let's play with these dials in the context of the mix.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you. Some days I'm so inside my head.
The final bit here is soften, and this is meant to de-ess and de-harsh, kind of like soothe, in my opinion, the entire, product of all the processing, which is interesting because usually you de-ess at the beginning and then you add your stuff afterwards. So you take care of the housekeeping before other processing brings the body of the audio up, compression, saturation, for example. But this happens at the end. So let's bring this up and see if we can soften some of those S's.
Some days.
Bring it up.
Some days. Some days.
Okay, that seems to do it. Almost bringing in a bit of a lisp, actually.
Some days.
Turn it off.
Some days.
On.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
I'm going to bring the output up a little bit, and because we don't have any time-based effects in this tool, I'm going to bring in Stratus from Exponential Audio iZotope/Native Instruments.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you. Some days I'm so inside my head. All my fears showing right through.
It's without.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
Here's everything off.
Some days I get so turned around.
Let's bring it in.
I don't know how to love you. Some days I'm so inside my head. All my fears showing right through.
So I guess my thoughts on using VOCA for a couple days here is that it is an interesting tool. It definitely brings up the body and pushes things up against the glass of the vocal. I do find it curious that there is no EQ, additive EQ here. Now you might argue that compression is going to kind of play with the envelope and therefore touch some frequencies, and saturation is going to add, harmonics and overtones. So that is going to affect the spectrum as well. And it's in a way an additive EQ, but I find it kind of weird that the only EQ that we have is subtractive and harshness over here. It's pretty elegant. It's got a cool animation, but usually when you're working on vocals, of course I want to compress, and of course I want to get rid of S's, but I also want to have some control over the tone, predominantly with an EQ, and that's just not here. So that I find is kind of curious. Obviously, no big deal that there aren't any time-based effects. Not all vocal channel strips have time-based effects, but it's a pretty interesting tool. So let's keep moving. Let's go to Howard Benson vocals. I'll turn this on, and Howard Benson vocals from Joey Sturgis definitely does have time-based effects. So I'm going to disable my Stratus bus. And let's turn these guys off and go one by one and play a little bit of audio. One of the cool things is this has some assistive juice under it too. If I hit shift and double click, I can calibrate the input, it says, and it's going to kind of listen and find an optimal loudness for my vocals based on what it hears. These vocals happen to be a little quiet, so it might overcompensate for that, but it's kind of cool that this is here.
Some days I get so turned around.
All right.
I don't know how to love you. Some days
A little loud.
I'm so inside my head.
Let's bring that down.
All my fears showing right through.
So right away, we have some loudness, right? And I can hit the tube warmth. And the nice thing is you have the tooltips here at the very bottom over whatever you click, telling you what's going to happen.
Some days I get so turned around.
Solo it so we can really hear.
I don't know how to love you.
Keep it in.
Some days
Let's go for opto mode.
I'm so inside my head.
LA28 style.
All my fears showing right through.
Okay, nice bit of compression coming in. We can do auto makeup, or we can just make up again ourselves manually.
Some days I get so turned around.
Sounds okay to me.
I don't know how to love.
Add grit.
Some days I get so turned around.
So a little bit of level there.
I don't know how to love you.
All right, let's see what this de-esser does.
Some days I get.
So now we can hear just what the de-esser is hearing, what that signal is hearing. Starting over. So if I hit shift, we can hear just the de-ess signal. I wonder if this is just a listen mode or we're actually hearing the after of our de-essing.
Some days.
Okay. It's like the detection filter probably.
Some days,
That's not bad, actually.
some days, I get so turned around.
Bring it back.
Some days,
It's nothing.
some days,
That's actually not bad. I say not bad because I can't control any of the ballistics here. I can't control, I don't know if this is a split or kind of a full frequency thing. I can't play with a threshold. I guess this is a threshold. I can't kind of fine tune where I want at a frequency level the de-esser to start kind of listening and reacting. So one knob. Nothing.
some days, some days,
All right, let's bring in the EQ.
some days, I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
Bit of sparkle there. 1K.
Some days, I get so turned around.
Mids.
I don't know how to love you. Some days, I'm so inside my head. All my fears showing right through. Some days, I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
This is interesting. We have pre-compression mode allowing you to do the EQ signal before it hits the compressor. That's cool. High pass filter.
Some days,
A lo-fi mode.
I get so turned around.
Little telephone effect. That's cool.
I don't know how to love you.
I'm going to bring the output in just to regulate the gain a little bit.
Some days, I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
All right, let's keep moving. Pretty simple EQ stuff. Let's play with the multiplier.
Some days, I get so turned around.
Nice, like a harmonizer
I
almost.
don't know how to love you. Some days, I'm so inside my head.
I really love like phasing, flanging, that kind of doubling effect. I think it really works, especially for this song, which is kind of dreamy and trippy.
Some days, I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
Let's keep moving with width.
Some days, I get so turned around. I don't know how to love.
I don't think it needs it, but it's cool that it's there. Okay, echo. Now we're getting really into time-based stuff.
Some days, I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
So usually I have my delays on a bus or on an aux and I send things to them. What I normally do in this case when things are on the channel is I'll go to a 16th and I'll just add a little bit to thicken things. Have a listen.
Some days, I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
So before,
Some days, I get so turned around.
let's bring it in.
I don't know how to love you. Some days, I'm so inside my head.
Cool. Space, reverb, obviously.
Some days, I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
Cool. I mean, again, I would have something on an aux, but let's go over here and yes, I'll bring a limiter in just to be safe.
Some days, I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
All right, let's turn everything off.
Some days, I get so turned around.
Let's bring it in.
I don't know how to love you. Some days, I'm so inside my head. All my fears showing right I get so turned around. I don't know.
Okay, so obviously I'm not doing too much stuff here, right? I'm just going through and seeing what I like, what I don't like. Not trying to get a dramatic effect, but I do want it to sound pretty polished and pro. And I think it's pretty easy to do that with this tool. And I like how simple it is. Like I feel just enough control to let you go in and really shape things the way that you want them. So nice. Okay, well, that's Howard Benson vocals. Let's keep moving over to the SSL Native Vocalstrip. So this is another tool that reminds me a little bit more of the Joey Sturgis one than the Sonnox VOCA one, in that we have, our de-esser, equalizer, compander, which is expansion to kind of, tame breaths and background noise, and compressor kind of built into one. Curiously, they have a deploser, which is kind of funny. Not funny, but plosives are a big part of vocals, spoken, sung vocals, but it's one of those things that you don't often see in real time anyway on a vocal plugin. So it's kind of neat that it's here. We have input and output. You can turn the whole thing off and on over here, which is cool. Little button animation. That's fun. So I tend to go to the presets in the Native Vocalstrip, which is what I'll do. I'll click here. And one of the other really cool things about this tool is that you can reorder. It's a little not too bright here. Let me just turn one of the presets on. I can reorder the compander, the equalizer, the deploser and stuff. So I couldn't do that with Joey Sturgis. At least I don't think I can. And with VOCA, we're all set up left to right too. So that's kind of nice, is that it doesn't change over here, but it does change down here, the signal path. So let's go to male pop vocals, and I'll click back here. And let's just take a listen.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
Off.
Some days I'm so inside my head. All my fears showing right through. Some days I get so turned around.
That's pretty cool. So let's go and play with some of these things. I'm going to turn the deploser off. Don't need it. And we got a little light turning off over here to show that we have deactivated the module. I want to focus on the de-esser because I am not really happy with what it's doing.
Some days
I think what's happening is we have about 6K. That's where it is. Let me use a listen function to hear if I'm in the right territory. Okay.
I don't know how to love you.
It's too dark.
Some days, some days, some days, some days, some days.
I feel I can't really get a good de-essed sound without compromising too much of the body of this vocal.
Some days,
turn off look ahead.
Some days I get so turned around.
Yeah, it gets kind of lispy.
I don't know how to love.
Broadband.
Some days I get so turned around. Some days, some days, some days.
It's not bad.
I get so turned around.
So you're hearing a bit of gating. That is, I think, the expander.
Some days turned around. Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
And let's turn on our Stratus, our reverb, just so we get that time-based effects feel back, because we don't have any time-based effects here with solid state.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you. Some days I'm so inside my head. All my fears showing right through. Some days I get so turned around. Some days I get so turned around. turned around. Someday I get so turned around. Someday I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
Just doing a little bit of work on the compander. Didn't like what I was hearing, some gating and stuff like that. Let's move over to the equalizer. So we have a high pass filter here. I can't affect the Q as far as I know, but what I can do is just bring this up and down.
Someday I get so turned around. I don't know how.
And then we have something over here to kind of tackle the low to upper mids with a very specific subtractive EQ.
Someday I get so turned around. I don't know how.
And we can control things here, not with the shelf, but with a bell at the very end.
Someday I get so turned around. Someday I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you. Someday I'm so inside my head. All my fears showing right.
Before? Whoops.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you. Some days I'm so inside my head. All my fears showing right through.
So that is solid state logic. Vocalstrip 2. Pretty simple to use, pretty compact. You know, obviously you have the potentiometers that are, colored like the SSL. Pretty simple to use, pretty solid stuff. Let's keep moving to another tool, this time by iZotope / Native Instruments. So Nectar 4, being an iZotope tool, it is obviously going to be super assistive. So the first place we're going to want to start is over on the assistant page over here. And because this tool has time-based effects, I'm going to turn our trusty Stratus off. So I clicked on this tab, asking me for some audio. I'm going to give it some audio.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you. Some days I'm so inside my head. All my fears showing right through.
So one of the things is you get sometimes a bit of latency when you get to the after. You just have to restart transport, start and stop it.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to.
So there is some level loss, right, as a result of this processing. Pretty easy to go over and fix that. Head to this detailed tab. A couple ways I can fix that. I can address it either with the auto level module here, or I can go to the output. In this case, I'm just going to bring this up, this auto level module up.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love. Some days I get so turned around. Some days.
So first off, we have shape. What this is going to allow us to do is to puppet master the EQ, the tonal EQ, in the detail view over here, right from one page. So this page is really designed to let you make broad kind of strokes with some very simple controls.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
And the idea here is that we want our track to better conform to this balanced target, which it landed us on as a result of that learning process. It was like, oh, this is a vocal. Let's leave it on balance. But of course, you can go to wrapped or spoken or a number of presets that you have here that you've made either from using this tool called Audio Lens or just bringing in something in your computer and having it learn that EQ profile, and then it can go and toggle the settings to kind of match your sound to one of those references. I should also mention that in the detailed view here, we have our preset menu, which has tons of other presets as well. So pretty preset heavy product. But in this case, I'm going to go back.
Some days I get so turned around.
Next thing is intensity. This is going to control essentially the threshold of the opto compressor. I believe we've landed on opto as the algorithm in the compressor module in the detailed page over here. So pretty intense, minus 29.2 decibels threshold. If I bring it back, minus 20. Okay, so that's what's happening there.
Some days I get so turned around.
And I mentioned we have effects. This XY pad is going to control those. So we have reverb, delay, and the dimension tool, which is really phasing, flanging, that kind of thing. So I can bring the intensity up to get those effects in the mix.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you. Some days I'm so inside my head. All my fears showing right through. Some days.
Cool. So if we go to the detailed page after making some moves, some broad moves in the assistant page, here we can see the chain that Nectar set up for us. So we have subtractive EQ first. We have a de-esser, what automatically went in de-ess things, which is kind of handy. We have a compressor in the optical mode, optical as in the ballistics behind the LA2A. We have the second EQ, which was controlled by the shape parameter here. We have voices, which is a new module. Well, it's new. It's been revised from the old Harmony module. It's known as voices now, a lot easier to use. And we also have dimension, which is adding that flanging and chorusing in this case. Next, delay, and then reverb. But of course, we can go in and add something that we want. So let's say we want to add some saturation. So I want to bring saturation in before all the time-based stuff.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you. Some days I'm so inside my head.
Now you might notice a little bit of lag visually. It's because I'm running a pretty heavy plugin, but also I'm running some screen capturing software. So that's going to happen. But yeah, so if I want, I can go here and turn the modules on and off just like in the other plugins as well. But one of the nice things about Nectar is that you have this mix parameter, which allows you to basically blend in the wet dry parallel all from one little kind of slider, which is really handy. I can do that to anything that I want. So let's do a little before and after. Before.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
After.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you. Someday I'm so inside my head. All my fears showing right through.
Cool. So that's the Nectar approach. It's kind of neat because you get those broad controls, but you also can dive a little deeper and really fine tune things in the detailed view. And just like the Joey Sturgis tool, and a little bit like, probably more like the VOCA one from Sonnox, you have this auto level module, which really lets you go in and have something hug that level so that your compressors don't work as hard and you can just kind of focus on doing your thing and not, pulling out the pencil tool to draw in automation when something really loud comes up or something really soft or quiet happens. So that's kind of handy. Now, the final stop on this tour is obviously going to have to be where is it here? Manley Voxbox channel strip. So this is a digital version of a piece of hardware that came out in, I believe, the 90s. And Universal Audio has packed in pretty much everything into this little tool with a couple extra bells and whistles for the plugin folks. So on the left, we have kind of some preamp settings over here. We can control gain, polarity, a high pass filter, input level, the source. We can turn the whole thing off and on as well. We also have some controls here. Basically, the VU meter can be changed so that we're seeing reduction either from the compressor or some de-essing. So that's kind of handy if you want it. And then we have the compressor, which is set to a, if you can squint there, 3-to-1, which should tell you something, right? These guys mainly know what they're doing. So maybe that's a good place to start, or just stay with vocal compression in your other plugins, 3-to-1. Threshold, attack, release. We also have a de-esser up here with a threshold and some EQ stuff. We have this XFMR in and out. I believe this just bypasses a transformer from the original unit, which can lead to a more open and clear sound, I believe, when bypassed. We'll play with that too. And I think what I want to do is just go to one of the presets and see what happens. Basic male vocal. Nice. All right, let's leave it there. See how this sounds.
Some days.
Oh, also because there's no time-based effects, I'm going to add Stratus back in.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you. Some days I'm so inside my head. All my fears showing right through.
So interestingly, unlike the SSL, it decided on a slow attack and medium fast release. I believe in the SSL we had a very fast and very fast attack, very fast release. I want to make a couple changes here to some things that I'm hearing.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you. Some days I'm so.
Definitely got to control the S's here, so I'm going to solo this, turn DS on, and I think the S's are localized to 6K. We can only choose these fixed amounts here. There's also some limiting, so I'll go to 6K.
Some days, some days, some days, some days, some days, some days. I get so turned around.
It's pretty good, pretty quick.
I don't know how to love you.
Let's hear the EQ bypassed.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you. Some days I'm so inside my head. Fears showing right through. Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you. Some days I'm so inside my head.
Now let's check this XFMR in and out. Right now it's bypassed. Let's bring it in, see if we can hear a difference. I'm going to toggle up and down.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you. Some days I'm so inside my head. All my fears showing right through.
Not hearing a huge difference, but I think overall I'm ready to do a big before and after. So here's without our Manley Voxbox.
Some days I get so turned around. I don't know how to love you.
Let's bring it in.
Some days I'm so inside my head. All my fears showing right through. Some days I get so turned around.
Off.
I don't know how to love you.
On.
Some days I'm so inside my head. All my fears showing right through.
So Obviously, I'm not trying to mix a pro vocal. I'm trying to walk you through these vocal mixing chain tools in a way that gets you familiar with them, and hopefully, it gives you a sense of like, oh, I'm going to get that, or I'm not really sure if that's for me. I think overall, it's really interesting to see how different companies approach the experience of mixing vocals. Some of them want to give you assistive stuff and also give you, a lot of detailed control. Others are really kind of controlling the experience to the extent that like you can't even, dial in the ratio on your compressor. It's all just going to be kind of fixed in there with like two, almost breast-like looking nipple things you have to move around. I'm referring, of course, to the VOCA tool from Sonnox. So there really is a huge range of UXs and experiences for you guys to get into. Personally, really what it comes down to is like what gets me a great result. Personally, I can, find my way around most of these tools. I was pretty surprised with just how good I thought the quality from the Joey Sturgis tool was. Its UI is a little older looking and stuff like that, but it was very simple to get in, get out, and get a great result, which is kind of what we all want to do. We're making music and we don't want to like sit and twiddle knobs until 2 a.m. So that's my video. I hope you now have a better understanding of all these tools and what they offer and how they're different and how in some ways they're the same. If you would like me to take a look at any other channel strips or tools for vocals or anything else, obviously let me know in the comments. I'd love to know what you thought. And yeah, I'll see you again in the next one. Bye.